This presentation is for educational purposes only, and the opinions expressed are those of the presenter. All trades presented are not traded in a live account and should be considered hypothetical. Hello everybody and welcome to Hawkeye FX with your host Marcus Toombs on the 16th of October 2017, and this is my weekly review. Now, if you remember my review from last week, you'll know that I was looking for euro strength, this green line, as it moved up in the charts here, and we were looking for New Zealand dollar weakness as this moved down in the charts here. We were also looking for the US dollar to turn last week and weaken through the week, and also for the pound to turn and come into strength during the week. We were also looking for the possibility of the Japanese yen to turn, which it did and is doing through last week. So if we look at each of these currency pairs on the 4-hour charts and start off with the euro here from the 9th of October, you can see that the euro strengthened through the week against all of our 6 currency pairs and was our strongest currency through until Thursday last week, when it then turned and started to weaken, and this was reflected in the Fatman. And this was a very similar story with the New Zealand, which we expected to weaken. So you can see here it weakened from Monday through the week and then turned on around Thursday and then started to come into some strength. The US dollar here on the 4-hour charts did turn as expected, and you can see weakened through the week against all of our 6 currency pairs and was our weakest currency of last week. The pound also turned as expected and came into some strength, as you can see here, and this strengthened for the majority of last week, just weakening towards the end of the week against the Aussie and the New Zealand. And finally here with the yen through last week, we can see the yen also did turn through the latter part of last week and started to weaken against all of the currency pairs except for the US dollar, which in itself was our weakest currency. Okay, looking here at the main news release, 3 bulls for the news release this week. The first thing to note is the lack of data release for the US dollar. We only have building permits on Wednesday, and we have the Philadelphia Fed manufacturing on Thursday and the existing home sales on Friday. So really a lack of data release for the US dollar. And so the price is more likely to be driven by the technical play out, and we could well see this US dollar continue to weaken through the week. Now the next currency I'm interested in this forthcoming week is the Australian dollar. As you can see here, we've turned up on the shoulder pattern. We're coming into good strength here. Now the Aussie has the meeting minutes on Tuesday, and it also has the employment change on Thursday. Probably more significantly is the GDP out of China on Thursday, and this will have a big impact as all the commodities are supplied through to China. The pound here has turned up in the charts, and we can see there's a lot of news releases for the pound. On Tuesday we have the inflation report, which is very important, and this is a market mover here, expected at 3%. And then later in the day we have Governor Carney speaking. On Wednesday we have average earnings, which is a very important factor for the Bank of England, and the claimant count change. Then on Thursday we have retail sales, which are expected to turn negative this month. Then for the euro we also have inflation data coming out on Tuesday and President Draghi speaking on Wednesday. And then finally, to wrap up the week, we have inflation on the Canadian dollar and core retail sales on Friday. So in addition to the US dollar weakness and Aussie strength that we are looking for this week, we can also look for Canadian weakness. As you see, this line has come down and then is now just turning down again in a very low position in the charts. We can expect the Canadian to weaken through to the data release on Friday. Now in that same vein, the pound and the New Zealand dollars have both turned down but have not yet had a pullback in this trend. These have now turned up, and we can expect pound and New Zealand dollar strength, but be careful because these will turn down again. We should see some further weakness. As an example of what to expect, because we come from overbought territory, this Japanese yen came down, turned, and then had a shoulder pattern and weakened. This Aussie dollar here came down, turned back up, and then turned down for weakness. This Japanese yen here came down from overbought, turned up briefly, and then continued down before coming into newfound strength. And then conversely, you see the Japanese yen and the euro, which have both come up in the charts but now turning down. We would expect weakness in both of these currencies for the first part of the week. These may well then turn back up on a shoulder pattern to come back into some strength. So in summary, I'm looking for weakness in the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen and the Canadian dollar this week. but we need to watch for the euro turning back up and the Japanese yen turning back up for strength. And then for strength this week, I'm looking for the Aussie dollar to strengthen, the New Zealand dollar and the pound to all strengthen. But again, do watch out for the pound and the New Zealand turning down on a shoulder pattern. Okay, as usual, I hope this helps and I wish you all the best for your trading this week.